Feel the heart. Experience the soul. Community Pulse.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And a very warm welcome to yet another interesting, informative edition of Community Pulse on this Thursday morning. And on this Thursday morning, the time is 9:15. We have lots lined up for you. Quite a jam-packed program this morning. And of course, firstly, we always start on a Thursday because Dr. Faiez Kirsten normally takes over between 9 and 10 on a Thursday morning. So he joins me live in studio to talk about emotional freedom technique, also EFT, and that is what we will be discussing, inshallah. You too can be part of the conversation. Either WhatsApp your comments, questions to 0786 1011 12, or you can call us on 021 699 1786. So that's the first hour. And then, of course, between 10 and 11, Mishka Muhammad will be keeping you company. Beautiful sounds, also messages, requests, and your latest updates, job offers, and more. And she also brings you the latest and weekly update with the South African National Zakah Fund. In the final hour, I will be having Merck in studio. That is the Mzansi Ethical Research Centre's Drs. Abdullah Tayyib and Fatima Muhammad to chat to me just after 11:30. But before then, I do speak to Muhammad Amra, who is the coordinator for the journey through the Quran taking place on the 30th of March at Islamia College Auditorium. And this will be an overview of all 114 chapters of the Quran in only 4 days with Sheikh S.M. Hassan Al-Banna. And that is what we will be talking about just after 11 o'clock, inshallah. So all that and more, you're on Radio 786 and 100.4 FM, also 1584 medium wave in Pretoria. Let's welcome Dr. Faiez. Assalamu alaikum. Always a pleasure having you in studio. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. And how are you?
I'm very well, alhamdulillah. I'm enjoying the weather. You know, the hot, when it's really hot, then you can't handle it. But this is cool, and so I'm really appreciative of this
Beautiful.
weather.
I love weather like this rather than,
too hot or too cold.
Too hot, yeah.
So alhamdulillah. Now, in the last discussion, we had quite an in-depth conversation about fasting.
Yes.
And we know that we are heading towards that auspicious month of Ramadan. And so inshallah, we kind of just left the message that preparation is key. So we need to prepare our bodies for the month of fasting. Today, we look at a very interesting topic, which is, of course, emotional freedom technique. Tell us a bit more.
Well, it's a very
Where do we
interesting.
start? Should I
Good question. Where do we start? It's about energy. It's about energy. It's a discipline of energy psychology, which really uses principles and techniques for working with the body's energies to bring about changes in whatever you want to bring about in your life, your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, your emotional reactions, ultimately your behavior. So you can use this technique of energy psychology known as emotional freedom technique to reprogram or transform your subconscious.
And we often speak about that reprogramming that
That's
we need
right.
to do.
This is one of the most powerful methods that you can use, actually. And it's about using the body's energies, and that's oftentimes neglected. People just look at the body as a body of matter rather than energy, because we're both matter and energy. You can't actually separate the two. And so I've actually been doing some in-depth research on microwave warfare, which is really energy weapons basically being used again. And we spoke about silent weapons for quiet wars, and that's actually I was talking about that at some point, the microwave warfare that's going on, because that's disturbing our energy body, our energy systems are being disturbed by these microwave weapons that's being directed at us. But that's a topic for another day. So let's start. How did an EFT come about? I actually started way back in 1980 with Dr. Roger Callahan, a psychologist, who was treating a patient who had a severe phobia for water. Her name was Mary. And she couldn't stand the sight of water, anything to do with water. She just would freak out, She couldn't even, when it rained, she actually went into a panic. That's how bad her phobia was. And he worked with her for about a year, and he was getting nowhere really. And one day he took her to sit by his pool, and she obviously was freaking out, but she sat there and she started getting these abdominal pains, And in the meantime, he had been studying Chinese medicine, Dr. Callahan, psychologist, and he was sort of researching and studying Chinese medicine, and he remembered that the stomach meridian actually has an acupuncture point on the cheekbone, So he just decided to tell her, tap on your cheekbone. Maybe that will relieve your abdominal pain. So she tapped on her cheekbone, But not only did her pain disappear, her phobia instantly disappeared, and she ran out into the pool and started splashing around in the pool instantaneously. And they were both amazed, that what actually happened here, And then he did more research and he discovered that, when you tap on certain meridian points, we talk about meridians now, that certain things happen in your body, in your brain. And so he developed something called thought field therapy based on, his findings. And in the 1990s, early 90s, an engineer named Gary Craig started training with Dr. Callahan to learn about, energy psychology and his thought field therapy that he basically developed. And Gary Craig found that there was a lot of flaws in the TFT technique, and he started refining it. And he came up with EFT, okay? So that's emotional freedom technique.
So it started with...
It started way back in the 1980s with thought field therapy, became EFT. And EFT is being refined over the years, From way back then, it was quite a lengthy procedure. And now it's shortened, way down. And when I discovered this many years ago, probably in the early 2000s, I was amazed, as a conventionally trained doctor. I thought, this is nonsense, okay? I downloaded the manual and I started reading it, and I started becoming intrigued, They were talking about quantum physics and meridians, and as a Western trained doctor, you don't learn these things, in medical school. Energy is completely, they don't even talk about energy medicine. So I was intrigued and I thought, wow, this is something completely new. I need to learn this stuff if what they're saying in this manual is true.
But what does it tell us about the power of the brain and just how powerful one can actually be if you understand?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a lot of power. The thing that keep us back is actually what's programmed into our subconscious. Okay, and our natural state is to be in the zone. The zone is where you have no limitations. Nothing's keeping you back. But we've been programmed from the time we're born, even before that, with these limiting beliefs and so forth, which basically keep us back. And with the mind control that's been happening for a long time now, using microwaves like we spoke about earlier on, that is basically scrambling our energies, disturbing our energy systems, and then, causing us to be limited beings, basically.
You're tuned to Radio 786 and 100.4 FM. The time slowly moving on to 22 minutes past 9 o'clock. If you have just joined us, we're talking about EFT, not the EFT you thinking about. It's rather emotional freedom technique.
Yeah.
I'm getting confused with the TFT
electronic
EFT.
funds transfer.
But we also touched on thought field therapy. Now, as Dr. Faiez explained, that emotional freedom technique is a form of counseling intervention that draws on various theories of alternative medicine, including acupuncture, neuro-linguistic programming, also energy medicine, and thought field therapy. Quite an interesting story of how it all started. And how many years ago was this?
Well, it started way back in 1980 with Dr. Roger Callahan. His inspiration to basically ask someone to tap on the cheekbone, and then he developed TFT, and then Gary Craig came along and developed EFT. And today you have matrix reimprinting and a whole lot of other techniques and tools that they've come up with, but they're all fascinating stuff. Yeah.
So for which disorders or diseases would this work for?
It can work for physical disorders, emotional disorders, even goal achievement.
Really?
Okay, performance, sports performance, any performance. Okay, you want to change your habit of thought. If you're having negative thoughts all the time, you can basically change that with EFT. Patterns of behavior. So it's used for everything.
In fact, what about those habits we'd like to get?
Habits, absolutely, because behavior is habits. Habits are behavior. And Gary Craig says, try it on everything. It can't hurt you, it can only help you. But I mean, the kind of results that you see with EFT in my own personal life, I've achieved amazing things with EFT.
And it also sounds as if the result is rather immediate.
In some instances, it can be completely immediate. I mean, that's the thing that actually struck me. When I discovered this years ago, as I said, and I read a lot of case studies and so forth, and I was sitting in my study one day, and my daughter came to me. She was still I think she was in high school. I can't even remember. But she came to me and said, "Dad, look at my lip is swollen." And I looked at it and I said, "Wow, you got an allergic reaction, Now, if I didn't know about EFT, I would have reached for the antihistamines, I said, take this antihistamine. But I remembered a case study where a person developed an allergic reaction. I think it was at a party, and it was quite a severe one. And while they were waiting for the paramedics to come, somebody at the party knew about EFT and took this patient or this person through the process. And by the time the paramedics arrived, this person was completely fine. And I remember that case study. And so I said to my daughter, Sadiqa, I'm going to take you through EFT quickly. And so I made a tap. And I promise you, right before my eyes, her lips just started going, the swelling started going down, whoop, just like that. I mean, that's the thing that sold me on EFT. And so I went and did a certificate in EFT and so forth. And my programs all incorporate EFT because it's a powerful, simple tool. You know, if you don't use it, you're losing out.
078 16 11 12 or 021 699 1786 if you have any questions pertaining to the topic, which is EFT this morning, and that of course with Dr. Faiez, Kirsten, emotional freedom technique, talking about it, the untapped power that we indeed have as individuals. Now we have one message that says, Assalamu alaikum, a very good program. Where can I read more about this?
I have a report that I wrote on the reprogramming the subconscious mind, which talks about EFT, but there's tons of information on the internet. You just have to type in emotional freedom technique, and I think millions of pages will come up, actually.
But you speak about the process. Tell us about what this process means. What does it include?
Well,
from the start.
You see, first of all, there's meridians that run through the body. There's different energy systems in the body. You have the chakras, the auras, the meridians, the triple warmers, there's the radiant weaves. There's so many of them, actually. There's about 8 different systems. Now, EFT actually uses the energy meridians, the meridians. These are like channels that run through they're physical channels, and this has been proven scientifically. They actually discovered these channels. They actually found them. You can actually show that they actually exist. And when these channels get stuck through for various reasons, the energy gets stuck in these channels, whether it's bad experiences that you've had, traumatic experiences and so forth, cellular memories that you've inherited and so forth, then you don't feel well, okay? Now, they found that when you tap on acupuncture, now acupuncture is an ancient thing that the Chinese discovered 5,000 years ago, and there's certain points on your body called acupuncture points where they insert the needles. Now, in EFT, you tap on those points, certain of those points, and that triggers what we call piezoelectricity. You get an electrical discharge, okay? The energy flows in all directions, but mainly up to your brain, to your amygdala. Ultimately, what tapping does, it actually dampens the stress response, okay? Because everything is about stress, okay? Chronic stress is what makes people sick. And when you tap on these certain points in a certain way, and you bring to mind a problem that you're trying to solve, whether it's an emotional problem, a physical problem.
So you need to focus on a particular...
that's where the psychology comes in. So it's a combination of psychology and acupuncture and so forth. Okay?
So I'm quite interested in what if I don't believe that it's going to work? Will it have an effect? But before you answer, let's just go to the lines. Radio 786, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Zainabeen. Doctor, how are you, Doctor?
Wa alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah.
I'm actually looking forward to your program, you know that.
You're welcome. Shukran for looking forward to it.
Highlighted. It's so important that subjects that has been shelved, that hasn't been touched on, are being highlighted, and it's very important. I just want to contribute to this discussion. You know, we have been given the mind to think and to question and to reason. But I think that our subconsciousness hasn't been touched yet. We're only using about you can say about 5% of our mind, really, because why? We have been, like you mentioned before, how people are being indoctrinated, how they're being controlled, all this about social control. But I think if people go back to to the source of our deen, everything is there. Believe me, doctor. Everything you want to know, everything you want to live, is there. There's emotion of sadness, the emotion of happiness. All this is how we reason with ourselves. If we can reason and if we can question how we have been, what we've been taught and what we've been taught, and then question it, with truth, then we will find that the sadness that came about wasn't necessary. The unhappiness that came about in our lives wasn't necessary. But it's because we are attached to certain ways of life that has been fomented. That has been fomented. I mean, look at this permissiveness that's happening in our country now. I mean, the sexual, perversity that's happening in our country. They are actually promoting this. So, a guy who looks at the younger, he gets aroused because of this promiscuity that's being filled into our mindset and into the youth too. That's why we can't reason with ourselves, because it is a lifestyle that we have adopted. But if we can question that lifestyle and reason with it, we will find we can actually sift out the muck, that has been promoted. And I hope Dr. can talk about how we must reason with ourselves and how we must question things that has made us sad. Well, circumstances sometimes makes us sad. If we lose somebody, that's natural. But the unnatural sadness, that sometimes comes about in our lives, that we must question, because the way we were taught and how we were taught, instead of becoming a muttaqi, we have become a follower.
Shukran so much.
Doctor.
Shukran for your contribution. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. We also have one WhatsApp message that asked, is body talk technique similar to EFT?
Body talk, I'm not too familiar with body talk. I've heard about it. I suppose it would be an energy type of method, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Before the caller, unless, Doctor, you would like to comment on...
Yeah, the brothers made some very good points, It's all about control. The whole agenda is about control, and that's why people are the way they are today. They're not in their natural state of being. It's basically an engineered state of being. It's about mind control, and we must talk about that at some point, the mass mind control that's happening, and the murder that's taking place through microwave, specifically radiation, EMFs. If you spoke about EMFs and microwave, radiation is one of the along the spectrum, which is being used to control people's minds and then to also kill them. I mean, it's a genocidal agenda that's at work here. And so the brother brought up something very, very important point. So people are sad, they're energetically in a chaotic state. Their bodies and minds are in chaotic state not because they want to be like this, but it's all engineered using these silent weapons, like I said. And one of the big ones are microwave radiation. I sat in a radiation field for 2 years without knowing it, thinking that in fact the Wi-Fi was switched off. And even if it was, there was a built-in hotspot in the modem, in the router.
No escape.
That's deception, you see. And it's all about making profit. So governments will basically, cover industries, malfeasance, just so that the corporations can make money and then, destroy our lives in the process. And we need to wake up. We need to start thinking. But the problem is our thinking is being taken away also. That's another thing with this mass mind control. It's actually to reduce your ability to think. Critical thinking doesn't really exist, in the way it should. It's not taught in schools or even universities. People coming out of school and universities can't actually really think anymore. That's the scary part. And very soon we may not even have that ability anymore, completely gone. When our minds are gone, then we're no longer human. And in fact, artificial intelligence is taking over. In fact, now they have robots and computers that are actually more intelligent than human beings. So we don't own that space of being the most intelligent beings on the planet any longer. That is the scariest part. So the brothers brought up some very important points. And perhaps we can use these energy techniques like EFT and all these other techniques to try and get back our energy, power that we actually should have. But that's been taken away from us,
That Dr. Faiez Kirsten speaking to us this morning about EFT, and we getting getting into the topic this morning. We are receiving some more WhatsApp messages, but I also just want to go back to the question I asked before we took the caller about whether let's say I don't believe in the technique, will that have any impact on the results?
Very good question, Zainab. You always ask good questions. No, you don't have to believe anything about the technique. It just works, okay? Because it's got nothing to do with your beliefs. Okay? But then you can tap on your disbelief if you want to.
Let's take that break, and after the break, inshallah, we continue. Do remember that we will be taking your calls. Continue to take your calls on 021-699-1786. And remember to WhatsApp your comments, questions to 0786 10 11 12. Emotional freedom technique is what we are discussing. Quite an interesting topic this morning. So the time now 22:10 on Radio 786. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome. First hour on this Thursday morning, we take a look at EFT, not the one you're thinking about, rather emotional freedom technique with Dr. Faiez Kirsten. Joining me live in studio, our lines open 021-699-1786. Also WhatsApp your comments and questions to 0786 10 11 12. Now, Dr. Faiez, we have quite a number of WhatsApps that I really need to go through. So I'm going to start with the last one, and it says, Assalamu alaikum, please speak and inform more and take less calls. Shukran for the program. I was present several years ago when a volunteer was unburdened of many years of sadness and felt completely free after about an hour. I have on numerous occasions, therefore, referred people to EFT, and they had great results. Alhamdulillah for all the gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Assalamu alaikum, shukran for beautiful program. Government should have this technique in prisons as well. Also, Assalamu alaikum, where can I read about mind control in terms of books and articles? Also, a beautiful topic with this behavior of students at schools that we find fighting with teachers and other pupils. I think EFT should be taught at schools. Don't you think so too? Also, Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Extraordinary topic. We need more of these kind of topics because it can help people overcome their daily struggles and help us grow. Self-control is of utmost importance for survival in today's circumstances we find ourselves in. So thumbs up to Dr. Faiez. And then also just contact details. We'll do that at the end, inshallah. And then one last one that just came through via 0786 10 11 12. I've just recently discovered I have a codependent personality. Need to reprogram my brain to undo all my insecurities. Doctor spoke about tapping the amygdala. Can I use this as a form of therapy?
Yes, look, you can use EFT with anything, but there's many severe physical, emotional problems, that basically also require other interventions, conventional interventions. And so if you have a severe problem, a serious problem, it's best to work with a trained therapist. A therapist trained in EFT or master, an EFT master perhaps, okay, rather than trying to do it on your own. Many of the minor problems, you can resolve on your own just by learning the technique and then applying it to yourself, and changing your beliefs and so forth. But if you have a serious problem, like a personality problem and so forth, serious, severe depression, it's best to work with a therapist, okay, rather than by yourself. Yeah. And shukran to everybody for those lovely messages. Appreciate them. Yeah.
Also, I know that I've spoken to a few Afia healing therapists. Is Afia healing connected or linked to EFT at all?
I don't think so. I think it's a form of energy healing. I think it's more like touch therapy, touch healing rather than EFT. Okay. But I think it's an energy modality also. Yeah.
Someone once told me that if you are nervous before you perhaps have to go do a speech in front of millions of people, then you can do some tapping and
that's
then,
right. Yeah.
Tell me a bit more. But I didn't understand that then.
Yeah. Look, I mean, public speaking is one of the, or if not the biggest fear that people have. So if you're nervous and you just tap on these meridian points. That dampens the discharge from the amygdala, so it immediately stops the stress response. The reason why you're feeling nervous is because the stress response is triggered starting from your amygdala. Okay. So it's probably a reactivation of a cellular memory that's triggering the amygdala to discharge and then basically cause you to feel anxious or whatever other emotion you're feeling. Okay. So just tapping on these things without saying anything can actually help to relieve that anxiety or that nervousness.
Interesting. Let's go to the lines. Assalamu alaikum. You're live on Radio 786.
Hello, assalamu alaikum everyone.
Wa alaikum salam.
Salam, how's everyone doing?
Alhamdulillah.
Very interesting program. Doctor, I just want to ask you something. My son, he's an OCD patient now for the last couple of years. He's age 21. I heard what you said about the lady, Mary, that had a phobia for water. Now, this guy, again, he abuses water again. That's come with OCD. Tell me, will that technique have some benefits for him?
Yeah, absolutely. You can try it, on him. How old is he?
21.
Inshallah, this year you will be 22.
Yeah, no, certainly you can try it. It works for many, many things, so there's no harm in trying it, actually. Yeah. Sometimes when the EFT doesn't work, there's certain reasons for that. Aspects relating to the problem haven't been addressed. Psychological reversals haven't been addressed properly. Energy toxins, scrambled energy. So there's lots of reasons why it won't work, but it works in most cases. But if it's not working, then you must look at the aspects that you're not addressing and so forth. Yeah.
So if
the other thing, quickly. And the other question I want to ask you, you're speaking about the microwave, in your modems there's a certain amount of radiation and in microwaves. Because I've observed, in my household situation he's continuously on Wi-Fi.
Ooh.
And he's obsessed with a microwave also.
Oh, very bad. Put that microwave off. Throw it
I
away.
was just thinking,
Yeah.
that in our own society, in your own home, sometimes there's a iblis, this. Isn't this maybe the iblis that's causing, towards our problems?
Yeah, look, there's dark forces, that's covering the earth. We know that Dajjal and Iblis and all these dark forces, human shaitans running the show. So we need to be aware of all of these things, People running their lives based on satanic beliefs, the 4 pillars of Satanism. People running hospitals, schools, universities, governments, all running their lives by these satanic beliefs, and that's what we're dealing with, unfortunately. And we need to protect ourselves as best we can.
Okay. Shukran for your contribution, Kola.
Shukran, eh?
Afwan wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. One more WhatsApp message on 078 10 11 12. Can we use this method to help quit smoking?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's been done. There's many cases where people have stopped smoking just by using EFT. Absolutely, yeah.
So I don't know about the listeners, but I'm quite interested in how this process works and if anyone like myself perhaps could just learn the technique and actually try it.
Well, I used it and when I first discovered it, and I changed my life in many ways.
But you're an EFT expert. So.
It took me several months, actually. I'll come to the personal peace procedure, which I think everybody should do, including governments and politicians, okay? And someone spoke about prisoners.
And schools.
And everybody should be doing the personal peace procedure, especially if you're going to get married, I think. If people come into a marriage without having done the personal peace procedure, you're going to get fireworks, okay? Okay. That's why divorce is so common, okay? Because people are not at peace.
So where have you been all this time, Dr. Faiez?
Working on myself.
preparing yourself for this.
Trying to get some peace. Yeah.
So tell us about this piece.
Personal peace procedure. I'll mention it right. I just want to mention something that Nikola Tesla said. Now, he was a genius inventor, lived in 1800s, early 1900s. He said, if you wish to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. Okay? So we're all about energy, which is frequency and vibration. And that's why they're using energy weapons against us, directed energy weapons, to scramble our energies and disrupt us, disrupt our lives, which is happening around us all the time. As I said, I myself was disrupted for 2 years by a radiation field. Now, coming to mind control and coming to the personal peace procedure. Now, William Casey was the director of the CIA from 1981 to 1987. He said, this is what he said. He said, we'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American people or the American public believes is false. And that pertains to the global population now. When everything that the global population believes about the world is false, then they know their disinformation program is complete. That's mind control, okay? And this is where we are at today. You'll find people can't think, and what they believe, a lot of what they believe is completely false. For example, they believe banks lend money. We covered money before, okay? Everybody believes that, but it's not true, okay? So let's come back to the personal peace procedure. I would advise everybody to do this. What I did, well, this is Gary Craig's thing. He came up with this. But what I did, I created something called a 7-segment negative life experience or negative life events table. So you divide your life into 7 segments. So say you 45, you divide it into 7 segments. So from 0 to 7, 7 to 14. Those are the years, your age. And then you think of all the negative stuff that happened in your life during that period, during those 7 years. You write them down, okay? And everybody, if you come up with nothing, then you basically, you're not alive, okay? Or you're basically lying, because everybody has like tons of stuff, baggage, okay? Everybody's had negative experiences.
Before you continue on that, let's go to the lines. Radio 786, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you and Honorable Doctor and all your listeners.
Wa alaikum salam.
In fact, I would like to add what the doctor said. I actually like what he said, that he worked on himself. This is where every human being who claims to be a believer, that is where he has to work on, is actually himself. That's why we always pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah must not lay on us the burden which we have not the strength to bear. Now, what is that burden? Now, when we talk about all people always talk about the physical toxic. But let us talk about the spiritual toxic. Lies, deceit, cunning, breaking up homes, things like this. if we can work on those toxins, then nothing in this world can actually affect you psychologically. And the best friend and the best companion, if you claim to be a believer of a certain faith, then it should be your scripture, especially the Holy Quran to a Muslim. That's why we always ask, we beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah must show us, Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'a wa arina al-batila batila warzuqna ijtinaba. Oh Allah, please reveal to us what is truth and let us follow that truthfully. And please distinguish falsehood from to us so that we can abstain from it. Now these are the qualities that we as human beings should actually work on. Now the doctor mentioned about the banks. I agree, because the bank is actually where everyone has to go to for a loan. You can't go to your brother, you can't go to your sister, you can't go to your uncle, because they've got their own problems and they won't be able to help you. So you must adapt according to the system. Now, the only idea to change the system, if the believers become as one ummah, as the Quran says, as one unit, then we can create an opposite system and a proper system where everyone can live in uniform and harmony. And that is where we'll create a new world order. Jazakumullah.
Shukran wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Here's a proposal for Dr. Faiez. It would be great if the doctor could give classes at high schools covering all the wonderful knowledge. These kids are the future. They need to understand the universe and those who are trying to destroy it. And it's something rather sad that this is not being taught at school level.
Well, it's not a random occurrence. It's engineered. It's deliberate that it's not taught. Because another false belief that people and parents hold is that they're sending their children to school to be educated. That's what they believe. But as William Casey said, when they believe that which is false, then that's when the disinformation program is complete. So they're not sending their children to school to be educated, but to be indoctrinated. That is why nobody knows what money is. I mean, you spend 12 years in school and then a few years in university, and you come out of that and you still don't know what money is. Now, how you think that's a mistake? Like somebody just overlooked the
orchestrated.
It's engineered. It's orchestrated. So we need to take cognizance of these facts. The caller that called in, beautiful points. Spiritual toxicity. Your best friend is the Quran. Beautiful points. Shukran for that.
So before I get into trouble, because listeners are still asking, please explain the peace, the personal peace process. You were still from starting.
Yes, so you divide your life into 7 segments, and then you think of all the negative stuff that happened in your life, whether the teacher hit you on your head with a book, or somebody insulted you, your father screamed at you, a dog barked at you. Everything you can think of, you write down for those 7 years. And then you work on that. Okay. Now you do it for your whole life. So from 7 to 14, 14 to 21, and so forth. You will end up with oftentimes hundreds of negative events, negative experiences that you've actually had. These are all sitting in your subconscious. Okay, at the cellular energy level. Okay, and they impacting on your life every single day. Those memories are being reactivated without you knowing about it. It's all subconscious, and you'll find your life being dysfunctional. You're reacting, inappropriately. Your lifestyle is wrong, and so forth. All related to these negative events, which are unresolved. Okay, they've disrupted your energy frequency, your energy patterns, your energy flow, and they're making your life a misery. Okay, you're ending up going to a doctor all the time. You're in hospital, you're sick, you just can't get better. Taking all these pills which make you even more sick. Your life's a complete mess. Why? Because those subconscious issues have not been addressed. Now Allah says, I will not change the condition of a people unless they first change that which is within themselves. And EFT is a powerful technique you can use to change that which is in yourself, which is not working for you. Yep.
Dr. Faiez, and then of course I'm sure that there are many people who would like to get in contact with you to find out a bit more. Can you please provide us with how they can do that?
SMS me 078-416-2673, 078-416-2673, or just send me an email, Faiez, Faiez @brainscience.co.za.
078-416
2673.
2673. There you have it. You can find out more. 078-416-2673. EFT, quite an interesting topic this morning. I'd like to find a bit more about it, and I will be doing some reading up. Perhaps we can continue with some more on personal peace procedures next week, inshallah.
Okay.
If you allow us to do that, inshallah. Dr. Faiez, shukran so much for your time. Always interesting and a pleasure speaking to you, and looking forward to our next discussion.
Afwan, shukran for having me, Zain. I appreciate it.
Do stay tuned today, 786 100.4 FM. It is now 8 minutes to 10 o'clock, and don't forget that in the final hour this morning, I will be speaking to Dr. Muhammad Amra, and he will be telling us, inshallah, about the journey through the Quran, which will take place on the 30th of March. But also, don't miss the interview with Drs. Abdullah Tayyib and Fatima Muhammad from the Mzansi Ethical Research Center from around 11:30 this morning, inshallah. All that and more on Radio 786 100.4 FM. First, we'll take a break, and then, of course, the news at 10. Stay with us.